Hi everyone, it's James here from Production Expert. Well, it's the morning after the night before, quite literally. We've all recovered from the NAMM show, or maybe we're recovering from the NAMM show, except my voice. But just before we dash off and catch our flight home, the opportunity came to meet with some chaps who are building some very, very special kind of hybrid analog consoles. Will we go there, Bruce?
That would be correct. I mean, the console itself is analog, but we believe in integration with the digital domain, but basically keeping the two parts so you operate together, but they're separated as far as their function is concerned.
So at this point, let me introduce Bruce Millett from, you explain it. You explain a little bit about the whole setup and stuff.
The company is Burbank Audio Systems, and we are the manufacturers of the Custom Series 75 console, powered by Neve. We have a license to use the original vintage Neve designs, but actually build the console now using modern techniques and including everything you would expect from a modern day inline console, full monitor section, monitor paths on all the channels, and so on.
So let's unpack that a little bit.
Yes.
To use, I believe, local vernacular. You've got, in this particular board, which will come to the specs of this one a little bit later on, we've got 32 channels of input and return.
Yes.
With mic pre's.
Yes.
We then have a custom-made center section, digital control center section.
Yes.
We then have the master section.
Yes.
And a whole host of analog loveliness in the form of 500 series and the patch bay. And
that's correct.
And basically, it's a custom design, custom order, custom spec console.
Absolutely. Every single one of them is built exactly to what the client is looking for. And we have various different layouts, channels in different orders. And, people like to have remote patch bays or patch bays in the console or some no patch bays even.
But it does say the words Neve on it.
It does.
So how, without getting too legal,
yes,
how on earth do you end up with the ability to be able to have what is effectively a Neve console to your own designs?
We have a license that allows us to use the original designs for the 1073, the 1081, and the 1272 EQs, the 2254 compressors for the center section. The console was originally developed in conjunction with Robin Porter as well.
We love Robin.
Yes. And we saw the console, fell in love with it, and are now manufacturing it in North Hollywood. We have a factory there, and our offices are in Burbank. And we've been shipping them all around the world.
So was this one of the first, or is this one of the most recent? Or?
This is about a year and a bit ago.
Mm-hmm.
We delivered this one to Mark here at Stream Records, and he's been using it quite successfully, we believe, for the last year.
It certainly sounds like it.
Yes.
So we're up close and personal with the console now. I have a trusty camcorder, so we can dive in and zoom in and out so we can see exactly what Bruce is talking about. So do you want to take us through the channel strips, and then we'll have a look at the master section?
Certainly. The channel is based on a true inline architecture, starting with the whole of the channel path being Class A. We have a 1073 input using the original St. Ives transformers, the green transformers from Carnhill. We then go into a 4-band 1081 EQ and something akin to a 1272 output, also using the original Carnhill style transformers. 4-band EQ is slightly different from the original, but what we've done is essentially we've cherry-picked the various parts of most people's favorites to keep it all Class A throughout the whole of the signal path in the channel. We can then actually assign the channel to the stereo bus, and we can actually assign it onto an original voltage summing Class A style summing bus or a modern style bus, and that can be chosen on each channel with a single switch. The monitor path is a far more modern path, the idea being that you want something rather pure and clean when you're actually going to be monitoring what you've just recorded through the Class A side. We have 3 mono sends, 2 stereo sends, 8 buses, and a full set of logic functions to actually be able to switch between on the sends between pre and post monitor and channel path. Solo isolates on every single path of the channels as well. Obviously, we've tried to keep the channel in a far more compact space so you can actually reach everything. And every single switch function is memorized in a central location and can reset the whole console with a touch of a button.
Right, so we're down at the master section now. Now, the thing I'm, of course, used to seeing is the big red Neve master volume.
That's right.
The control room volume. But there's a lot more going on down here.
Of course, yes. I mean, it's what we always refer to as a proper grown-up center section. We obviously have the stereo bus from the aforementioned channel path, and there's also the monitor path, very similar to a standard sort of Neve setup. With a single button, we can actually join those two together to make a single stereo bus. We have a 2254, a pair of 2254s that can be assigned onto the stereo bus, but we leave them to be available on the patch bay and used anywhere else if you're not using them on the stereo bus. And of course, there's a standard insert point on the mix bus as well. The actual monitor section itself has got multiple sources, and we support 3 different sets of speakers. And interestingly enough, the third set of speakers is actually full 7.1 wide, and there is a 7.1 input, so that if you actually want to do some monitoring of some full surround mixes, you can. There's obviously the master sends for the cues and the auxes. There are 4 stereo echo returns. So you don't tie up channels having to bring back your reverbs. There's actually also the 8 buses come up to a stem mixer, and we actually have returns on those stems as well. So it makes it very easy to be able to create a full stem setup. This section here is a section that we use for actually assigning the routing, but also allows us to, as I said, reset the entire console. Every single switch function on the console is reset from here. Full talkback section and listen mics, and last but not least, studio loudspeakers and oscillator. One last thing I should mention, I'm sorry, we have 3 sets of headphones supported, and the actual amplifiers are built into the console, so you don't actually have to use separate amplifiers.
So it's time to meet the chap, the owner of this beautiful console, Mark Robinson. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming all the way out here.
For inviting us down. This thing is beautiful, and the setup here is incredible. We'll drop in some shots of the main studio and stuff, and some of the gear porn shots. But tell us a little bit about the process of actually reaching out to the guys and saying, look, I've got this idea for a console. How did you come up with the spec, and what did you get back? And
right.
What was the process, the end-to-end kind of process? Obviously, the finished product, I'm guessing you're very happy with.
Very happy. That's never been in question. The process started just knowing what I wanted. From 2001 to 2008, I owned a vintage Neve 8026 Mark II, 1975. I knew the sound of the 1073, so I unfortunately had to sell it in 2009. And ever since then, I just wanted it back. So I just need to make sure I did the research to find the right sound. And it started with reaching out to these guys. And then, sure enough, I got some time on a board in Laguna Beach, which is close to us. We heard it. We made sure of it. That sounded right. You have to kind of test it. You have to kick the tires. Mm-hmm. Once that was done, then it was a matter of sitting down with the guys and saying, what do we got to do to make this suit my studio and my flow, the way that we like to work? So it was a 2-step process. Sound first, ergonomics or whatever second.
So, but I think from the chatting we've done earlier, that you and I kind of work in a very similar way. It's about getting people in, recording bands, not necessarily about building everything up, tracking stages. I mean, you've got a beautiful live room that I'd give body parts for. But I'm guessing that's the kind of workflow, get it right on the way in and then...
Oh, yeah. I mean, as you know, if you get the sound right from the get-go, the mix comes together, and then the master, everybody looks better downstream. It sounds better downstream. So that was the key. And again, there's a lot of outboard pre's, and I went down that route for many years. I've been doing this for 2 decades now. Once I heard, I'm a Neve guy. I need that sound. It makes things come together very quick, and I'm perfectly okay only using Neve preamps. That's a step that a lot of guys have to make that decision to get there, right? So I'm okay. That's my sound, and I have racks of outboard pre's. But
you have a pretty awesome collection of outboard
Thank you,
gear
thank you.
and toys and
Yeah, and sadly, they don't get used. I mean, they do for occasional things. Sometimes someone needs something super clean, but to be honest, we do jazz music through these complete jazz records, and they sound phenomenal. So I never miss anything cleaner, if that's the comparison,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
but they do have a certain a Neve tonality.
Yes, and that's
Now here's the real question.
Yeah.
Besides all the potential pain points of owning a vintage console,
Right.
like the fact that you'll be working happily and then all of a sudden 2 channels will die randomly. You can't tell me that never happened.
all the time.
And the fact that generally on modern technology and modern consoles, that doesn't happen because, components are more reliable.
Right.
Presumably this has got all the benefits of that vintage sound,
Right.
but with without the drawbacks of the
Right.
vintage consoles
Right.
and the fact that they fall over and all that sort of stuff.
The number one thing has been the electric bill. Our console we had in here before this, we were about $800 a month. Okay, the only thing that changed is month one we went all the way up to that $800, changed out the console, and we've been at $250 for this entire facility, 4,000 square feet, all the gears on, the mastering room, $250 a month. And so obviously the console is the only thing that changed. That's huge, right? The heat and all that is there.
And presumably you don't have the air conditioning plant running 24/7.
No, this console never. I mean, you can feel it. I mean, it's on, but it's not like my old console where it's an animal, in the room.
And presumably with the old console, you didn't have the potential integration that you have here with the Avid S3.
No, and this was a huge luxury, and it's something that now looking back over the last year, it's been just what a blessing because it keeps your head in the sweet spot while you're writing automation. And with this thing, with the VCA spill and stuff, you can run huge sessions on this, as you know, and just stay right here. I love having this here.
It is a beautiful, beautiful console. I mean, the leather work, the actual layout, the timber on the top. Presumably this is all stuff that can be spec'd and...
Absolutely. We, if at all possible, encourage a prospective owner to come with us to the wood yard to pick out the wood that they like. Similarly with the leather on the front. We believe it's a bespoke piece that we're putting together specific for the person. It should fit with what they want. We hope that they're going to be wanting to live with it for a long time. They should feel very comfortable with it.
Bruce, fantastic to talk.
Thank you.
We're going to dive in and we'll cut to bits and footage and stuff of the console. It is a thing of absolute beauty. Any of you out there who know my current passion with analog consoles will know that, quite frankly, when we had the opportunity to come and see this thing up close and personal before we fly home today, then it was a no-brainer to come out. So thank you ever so much. I'd like to thank Mark for having us and providing some of the best coffee I've had so far while I've been in California. Sorry, Starbucks. So for now, my name's James Ivey, and I'll see you again very soon for some more Gear Talk.